hellhounds, the werewolf, cynocephali, skinwalkers, the man-dog, lycanthropes, direwolves, dogman. These upright walking canine creatures have been documented since the advent of written language itself. Every culture on every continent in the history of man makes mention of these beasts. Now, together, we will try to discover the truth regarding these monsters. Welcome to Dogmancams. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Dee Doss. Welcome back to Dogmancams. Boy, has there been some activity since I last talked to you. I know everybody's been checking out Vault's channel, so there's no need to go into that. But, ladies and gentlemen, it amazes me, having done this for 6 years, 4.5, almost 5 of those being an active field researcher, the first 2 years, almost every day. When I found out about these creatures, I sort of dove right in. Was working part-time, went back to college for criminal justice of all things, and it just enthralled me. It lit me up like a Christmas tree. But now we have this project here, Dogmancams. So I'll address the last thing first. People don't understand. Let me step back a little bit. People do understand and people appreciate it. But there's a lot of detractors and naysayers out there that are saying very, very untrue and terrible things about this project, which you can't really attack the project directly. You can't attack Dogmancams directly because 300 plus, almost 400 people now are watching the one live camera that we have, more to come very, very soon. And they are seeing the same things we are. Folks, the only thing we're going to be doing in the future when we start adding cameras to this project is having live field investigators investigate the area that not just us, but you are seeing things in. And when it was first presented to me, when I was first asked to come on board, I was all in because it was brilliant. And nobody else on YouTube nor anywhere else has put live cameras that's accessible to every single person who pays $5.99 a month. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's going into these areas that are scary, that are full of these creatures, and saying, you know what, let's not just ramble around and tell a story. Let's actually allow the people who are investing their time into us to see the same things that we are. And you're seeing them. Believe me, I'm on my email. And if I haven't gotten back to you, to your email or whatever, it's not because I'm ignoring it. There's so many of them. I have to set aside a day just to answer them all. And that's going to be the next few days. We got some moving to do, and then all hands on deck. But you guys, you're researchers now, or what's considered a researcher. You are investigating the area right along with Vault. And that's phenomenal to me. I've always wanted people to get more involved. I'm not one of these guys who sits on some sort of a high chair throne and kicks the slats out of my crib and throws my bottle and tears my rattle apart because one of you guys who've never been into the field gives me some advice or asks me a question that may impede on an investigation. I believe that everybody has a voice in this. If you're paying attention to this subject, you know half as much as we do at the very least. It's now, I'm not taking away from anybody. I know there's field researchers. I've seen a few in the chat already. I'm not taking anything away from any field researcher. Everybody knows I'm a friend of the common man and the field researcher and field investigator. That being said, I think there's a lot of people that are out there who watch shows like this. There is no show like this, who watch people's evidence, who pay attention, who are very, very astute and would make phenomenal field investigators. I think this is a beautiful first step into that. So, anyways, as always, I want to acknowledge the folks who jumped in here first. And I know it's been a minute and a half since I got to talk to you guys. I'm really excited. Listening to some James Brown and Johnny Cash to get me hyped up. We have, of course, the War Games, who's been trying to get a hold of us. I threw my email down in chat, so just hit me up. Life 1042, the great Don Johnson, old subscriber to the BDRP. Graybeard always has something great to say. Mid South Sasquatch Cryptid Research. He was there at the very beginning, one of the original 13 of the BDRP. And I sincerely appreciate him jumping on. Of course, we have IXIYENS. I'm not going to try to pronounce that first name, Rabbit. Puggo, Grumpy Cat, Dim Lady. Of course, Sean Graham, the man with the golden voice, Jonathan Daly, and last but not least, Claire Ellis and Mr. Lurksalot. And the One Man Band Podcast. So what's up, everybody? Glad you joined me. There's a few things I want to go over. I want to look at this footage with you live. What's up, Red Raider? I want to look at this footage that Miss Wendy caught with you live. I want to talk about Dogmancams just a little bit and why I decided to jump on board before it was. I got in at the idea stage because I was sold, and we are seeing now the idea that I was sold on, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. It's just phenomenal content. Even if you're in this to be entertained, I don't turn it. There's a lot of folks out there who take this subject, even though it's a serious subject, because these creatures are real. I've been around them, but they take it extreme. They take it to the extreme. They take it way, way, way too seriously. I'm not one of these people. You can lose your mind in this stuff. You can lose your mind looking at too much of this stuff. So that being said, I do sincerely appreciate everybody who's joined the Dogmancams website. That's dogmancams.com. So the first thing we're going to talk about, the uptick in activity. I told you folks it was coming. Told you years ago. There is so many reports. In the past couple of days, I've been kind of playing catch up. There's been so many reports over the past year of not only Dogman, not only Bigfoot, but creatures that I've never heard of before, not mythology or anything else. And it's easy to write somebody off as being a liar or being influenced by some sort of a substance or drinking too much chocolate milk before they go to bed and having bad nightmares. That's all easy, throw off answers. But when you have 3, 4, 10, 40, 80 of these people saying the same things in different areas, talking about the same anomalous creature around the same time, that doesn't show collusion to me. That shows it's kind of the needle's going towards the truth. That's why I applaud Vault and his team. Vault's put together, and I'm a part of that team. Vault's put together a fantastic team, and he's done it in a military fashion where certain people have certain tasks. So, for instance, Vault and I are field guys, along with Barry Browning. You have the twins who are the brain trust who do the back end research that I call it. And that's nothing bad. I mean, we need people who know how to do real research, and those twins are the ones that do it. You also have Lady Lakea, who is a living plethora of knowledge. She's the living library. She's a part of that team. It's a fantastic thing to be a part of. And I'm happy so many of you guys are logging into the cameras, not only logging into the camera, but seeing things. I can't tell you, Admirathoria 00, she's one of them. There's so many people who, for whatever reason, I used to be that way. I can't now, I'm getting old, that don't need sleep, who are watching these cameras or this camera 24/7. I keep saying these, insinuating more than one, because I'm kind of telling tales out of school, but they're coming. They're coming quicker than you think. How phenomenal will it be when you have a camera, not only in Mississippi, not only in Florida, not only in Oklahoma, not only in Louisiana, not only in Texas, but on the West Coast as well? That's what we're building towards. There's so many people who pull so much evidence off the camera that's just in Mississippi. I really want to see when all these cameras are up and running and everybody's paying attention to 6 cameras. I don't see how it can be done, but organically, this project is growing in more ways than one, and it's phenomenal. So, for anybody who is a subscriber to the BDRP, which I won't let that cat out of the bag yet. But anybody who was a subscriber to the BDRP remembers me years ago talking about the uptick in activity, the progression of these creatures. It seems like they went through some sort of a growth spurt, a population boom, if you will. It's crazy to me. It doesn't lend to any kind of a natural creature. Now I know during COVID, everybody saw the footage of wolves and deer running around New York and other places like LA because everybody was locked down. Not everybody was as adamant about locking down their citizens as these blue states. I don't know any other way to say it. I'm not trying to offend anybody politically, but I don't know any other way to put that. Not everybody was as adamant as these blue states on locking their citizens down. Yet, even here in the South, that it's predominantly red states, you're getting the same effect. The hog population, for instance, I've seen a couple of Texans in there. As you know, especially if you live in North Texas, Southern Oklahoma, hogs are like cockroaches. The state will actually send a helicopter out to your property to help you get rid of them. They're a nuisance. They'll come tear up your field, your garden, your yard. They're good for nothing except eating, but there's too many of them for even that. The population of these nuisance type critters have grown. So, of course, the predatory animals that prey on them will grow. That's a natural progression. But when you get a microcosm that is the dogman subject, especially dogman, but let's throw all cryptids in there: dogman, Bigfoot, chupacabra, whatever you want to say. When you get this microcosm that's this small, loosely knit community of people who are all seeing this strange stuff. And as you've heard me say before, 9 chances out of 10, not all the time, because Miss Wendy Wilson is what she's dealing with over there in Virginia or West Virginia is an anomaly to me because she's getting all the cryptid activity, but what seems like very little spiritual or ethereal activity. Even though this piece of footage we have had some ethereal stuff in it. She doesn't have cabinets opening and closing, nothing like that. But you get a lot of that stuff when you deal with these cryptids. Mid South Sasquatch Cryptid Research, he can attest to that. He's an old friend. We traded photos like they were baseball cards in the 1930s of not only these physical creatures, but also the things that come along with the physical creatures, like these ethereal beings that seem like they try to hide these things. As crazy as that sounds, if you really look at an independent researcher, not one of the talking heads, but somebody actually putting out evidence like Vault, if you look at that stuff, you will see 9 chances out of 10 something or hear something of a spiritual nature. For instance, on Vault's property, you have the voice of the little kid, you have the weird little orb floating around. It's strange to me that all this stuff seems to coincide most of the time. Uh, why does that happen? I have no idea. I, that's a lie. I have my ideas and opinions, but does anybody really know? I'm past the stage of spitballing things, but I can't prove one way or another if my theory is right. Speaking of Miss Wendy Wilson, really quick, I'd like to give a big shout out to her, Admira Thoria, Diesel 2K, and of course the Dark Waters family who have taken in this old Southern Okie. And it's a great crew. I would love to do more projects with them. It's just, everybody outside of you hearing our voices has real lives and jobs and kids and all that kind of good stuff. So it's hard to link up. But Chaos Theory Productions, I have something special that I want to do with him regarding the Men in Black. This guy knows all about ufology, and we're going to be linking together really, really soon. I hope you guys will enjoy that. So, who wants to take another look at that footage with me? Miss Wendy Wilson has been sending me stuff since I joined Dogmancams, and it's all phenomenal. A lot of you have heard interviews on other channels before. I can guarantee you, when she comes to interview here, you will hear things that you've never heard before. I have a different style. I'm a conversationalist. And that's not taking anything away from anybody who's had her, on their channel interviewing her. Phenomenal people, great folks, great minds they have. But anybody who knows me knows I'm a conversationalist. I talk to people. Um, and a lot of times you'll solicit information that you normally wouldn't if it feels like an interrogation or even just simple questioning. A lot of folks aren't as comfortable as others coming online and knowing that they'd be scrutinized by hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of people. And I applaud Miss Wendy Wilson and others who, put themselves out there like that. So another, I guess, big announcement I was going to say, another announcement I was going to make is in January, I am going to restart my own personal field investigations down in Brown Springs and other places in Southern Oklahoma, primarily Southern Oklahoma. So I'm really, really excited about that. Balt's having too much fun and I'm jelly. I'm not going to lie. Being around these creatures, folks, as harrowing as it can be and as scary as it can be at times, and that's not the wrong word to use. I don't care how brave you are, these things will get the cackles up on the back of your neck. There's nothing I've ever experienced in life that's like it. Not a roller coaster, not anything. Um, it's just fantastic. That's the wrong word to use. Completely the wrong word. There's nothing like it. It's fun. Not having the experience, not when you go home and kind of have a little bit of anxiety about it, but when you stop and think, I've just been around a physical creature that's been written about since the time of the Egyptians, 3,000, 4,000 years ago in Scotland. They fought Eric the Red when he came here, or Leif Erikson when he came here to the United States. These cryptids. I was just in the presence of one of them. It's mind blowing. So, without further ado, let's take another look at the footage. How about we? And again, thank you to the return of the original Cryptid Late Show. Again, I have a format that's unlike anybody else's, even though I haven't seen anybody else in over a year. It's different when you have a Howard Stern approach to it. Just talk to people. People are people. They would rather be talked to than talked at. So, again, thank you all. And let's take another look at this. I'm not of the variety of field researchers that gives these things all these immunities. Um, there's this really big guy, you all know him. He says as long as they're not hurting you, then you have nothing to worry about. But this thing's a peeping tom. It's looking in the windows. This young woman and her husband have kids. Jason Brock. Another thing I want to talk about. If I didn't think it looked like a dogman face personally, that looked super squatchy to me. But if you think it's dogman, I want you to drop a 1 in the chat and in the comments afterwards. I know there's a lot of people that aren't going to be able to hear this live. If you believe that that piece of footage shows a dog man, drop a 1. If you believe it's Sasquatch, drop a 2. I just kind of want to gauge where people's minds are, because there was a handful of people that said they saw a snout. I mean, I looked at this thing every which way, and I really, I didn't see a snout, honestly. Bass said it. This thing's massive. According to Miss Wilson, since this is her home, she would know that window's about 9 feet up. And if you notice, it looked like it was kind of looking down, like it was almost not bending at the knees, but kind of, peering in, like it had to move its head downwards. So that's a monster. And I got a little bit more information about her property and where it sits. I want to wait until I interview her. I don't want to give that information out unless she's comfortable with it. Of course, I'm not going to give out where her house is, but just where it's placed. I can tell you it's in the middle of a river system. And that tells me a lot. As most of you know, since there's a lot of astute people here, most of these cryptids, if not all, use riverways and stream creeks. That's their highways and byways. If you think about it, if you open up Google Maps or Google Earth and look at a stream near you, look at a creek near you, any kind of flowing water is going to be going through, if not government land, somebody's property that's out in the middle of nowhere. Some go through town. I understand that, but it's got pretty good cover most of the time. But that's a phenomenal piece. Let's see, 2. See, thank y'all. I know I'm getting older and my eyesight's not what it used to be, but I didn't see a snout. And just you can almost see facial features. Or it could be something new. Like I said, folks, all sorts of madness is taking place out there. The world's gone topsy-turvy. I wouldn't care if it was a dog man or a Bigfoot. Again, I put the emphasis on I wouldn't be cool with this thing just willy-nilly being a peeping Tom looking in my house. It's high up, that squatch. It's huge. Huge. Yeah, no doubt. Joanne Hartnett says, when I first saw it, that's not what I saw. That's interesting. What do you mean, Joanne? Does Wendy see Dogman out there or mostly Bigfoot? I'm thinking it's mostly Bigfoot, but I'm going to release it tomorrow. The last thing she sent me, you remember, I know there's a lot of older cats in there like me, which I'm 37. I'm not too old, but I'm old enough to remember a time where they had metal toy or not toys, but like the monkey bars and stuff and the swings and the merry-go-round in city parks. She set up something like that for her kids, these monkey bars, right? And the way she takes pictures and why I think she gets phenomenal stuff is she'll take them over her shoulder when she's looking away. And most of you know these things aren't going to move at all if you're even facing them. You don't have to see them. If you're out there, and this isn't even deep brush that she's in, folks. But I'll use this for an example. If you're out there in the deep brush where these things like to be, if you're looking anywhere near them, they're going to freeze up and they blend in so well, you won't see them. Most of the time, you won't see them. I guarantee you, when I was a kid, I probably leaned up against one of these things to get a sticker out of my sock or something. But this photo, the succession of photos she took, there's 4 of them. underneath these monkey bars, there's something huge, and it looks like a dog man. I mean, when I say huge, you'll see it. It's massive. It's bigger than me. I'm 6 feet tall, 200 some odd pounds. It's a big old boy, and it did look like it had a snout and a massive head, and it was on all fours, crouched down, looked like it had its legs underneath it, like it was trying to push itself as close to the ground as possible while still having the option to run off. Um, and in these 4 photos, you can see movement of the head because she's standing in the same spot. But in the fourth photo, it's gone. So to me, that's phenomenal. And every time I tried to and that's why I put this out. Every time I tried to piece together some sort of a chronological picture book for you, if you want to call it that, there was something new in my email, and it was just crazier than the thing previous. So I definitely want you guys to see that. In the spirit of Dogmancams, that looked like a Dogman me. So to answer your question in a long form answer, yes, I believe that she has Dogman there. Has she seen it personally with her own eyes? I'm not sure. I'm not going to answer for her. Red Raider thought there was more than one there. I thought that too, because it looked like something shorter was on the other side, was kind of like standing on his tiptoes, because you can see like little glints of eye shine. It was very, very, very faint. Vince out says he's in the middle of the Ozarks. You're not too far away from me, bud. Need to hook up. Miss Grumpy Cat. D, when you get back into Brown Springs, do you think the big fest or the big feet will remember you? Absolutely do. I think that they have ridiculously acute memories. And according to some, there's this one joker who's charging people to go down into Brown Springs. And I can almost guarantee you they've probably had some supposed wood knocks and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people, I've talked to some of that crew that's been down there. They've had rocks thrown at them. In the 4.5 years that I was hitting it really, really hard, I've had rocks thrown at me once. And that's when I was going to turn around and leave because I thought I messed up. And the rock landed right at I'm lying to you, twice. The first time, it was some adolescents and they threw rocks at my heel because I was in there with my kid. And for whatever reason, if you bring a kid into an active area, well, I won't say every active area, I don't want to put that out there. But when I would bring my kid into my active area, the adolescents would show up and they were kind of growling and being like, I didn't feel comfortable going in. But then as soon as I turned my back to them, it all stopped. Everything went quiet. And I I started walking back towards the trail, and they threw a rock that almost hit my heel. And I stood there for a minute, kind of soaked it in. I was like, you know what? Let's keep pushing forward. Let's see what happens. And it was one of the most pleasant experiences I've had out there around those creatures. You could hear them laughing. Um, 1 second. That's something I'll do for you. Give me one moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to my daughter, T. What's up, baby? All right. Speak right in that microphone. This is my kid. She was with me. She was what, 11? When we went out there to Brown Springs, and they were whistling at us, and we were going to leave, but we went back in. Oh, yeah. You have to talk right in that microphone so they can hear you. There's only 3 people in there. Don't worry about it.
As I remember it, it was just me and you that time, wasn't it?
I believe so.
We walked in and you told me that when you had went in by yourselves a couple of days before that you heard whistling.
Yeah.
And you said, "Hey, I'm gonna bring you out there, see if you hear it." You go to walk in, and I start hearing it. I'm I'm like, Dad, what was that? And he goes, wait, just hold on, just listen. And they started whistling a little tune, and he would whistle it back.
That's when we're leaving. Remember,
because they didn't want you to leave.
Yeah, because they didn't want us to leave. See what I mean?
Rocks at us.
Yeah, they started throwing the rocks. See, like we were about to leave, and they threw the rocks at us. But then when we went through the area, it was cool. And when we were leaving is when I started whistling that too. And they were whistling back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that a trip? So like anybody who's listened to me before, they know that's my thing. Like when I went to Brown Springs, I'd whistle. And I would whistle. We were sitting in the Suburban and I was whistling that thing back and forth. And then I changed it.
And then they got real mad.
Yeah, they got pissed. Like I would whistle and they wouldn't do anything. And then like I whistled that one time and that one went, yeah. You remember that?
I do.
So like we were leaving. We were in the safety of the Suburban and I kept whistling this tune back and forth. But I changed it up just to see what they do, and they didn't respond. And I did it like 3 or 4 times, and this one, it sounded like it was right next to the vehicle too. What was crazy. It was kind of creepy, honestly.
Like,
because it sounded just like that.
It
tripped me out too. It sounded just like that though. It went, yeah. Like, get that out of here. I want to whistle the other two.
And I remember when we would drive in or drive out, you could see them like right on either side of the road. If we were driving by really, really slow,
yeah,
and if it was dark, you could see them like peeking through the brush and whatever on the side of the road.
Yeah, those were the sentries they call. They were just like the watchouts. They weren't gonna do anything. They were, I mean, you know what I mean. And then you'd hear and they let them know they were in the area. Old Dee's back. All right, baby. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was T. Never before been on there. She did a good job. And for all who didn't, like, she didn't know I was gone. She's watching Criminal Minds in there. But yeah, like it was she's right, it was a trip. Like, cause I'd whistle I would whistle every time I went in there, but like when we were gonna leave, because they threw the rocks when I first came in there. They'd never done that before. That's why I figured it was all adolescents in this area for some reason. Like the noise it made, and that's as close as I can get to it. Like it sounded like it was ridiculously frustrated because I wasn't doing what it wanted me to do. Hey, baby, they said that you're a very well-spoken young lady. Just like your daddy. Chip off the old block. They said you're a very well-spoken young lady. She's going to do a show with me one day because a lot of people don't know, but I'd say 6, no, not even 6, like 5, half the time she was with me. D, what's your email address? I need some advice on doing a podcast. My email address for you and anybody else who wants to know is Oklahoma, OKLAHOMA, DOS, DOSS, @gmail.com. I don't know what advice I can give you except do it to it. You know what I mean? Like the first step is actually getting it set up and doing it. Once you start doing it, it's kind of fun. That and a co-host. I love having a co-host. I love having someone to play off of and talk to. Because you're lucky I looked up, it's 34 minutes. It takes a lot. But anyways, I digress. What else did I have for you guys? I had something else. I completely had a brain fart. We talked about Miss Wendy Wilson. We looked at her footage. A big shout out to her and Admirathoria, Diesel 2K, the family. The return of the original Cryptid Late Show. Oh, there's my email address. And for anyone who wants to email me, there's the email address. And again, if you'd like to subscribe to Dogmancams, it's super easy. Go to dogmancams.com. It's only $5.99 a month. If you don't like it, cancel your subscription after a month. But I guarantee you, if you watch those cameras, especially like you night owls, you're going to see something. You're going to see something straight up. But for anybody out there, and I know there's somebody listening who's wanting to get into field research, I've been very, very conflicted as to telling people to go out there, to stay away from them, because everybody's an individual. And you've heard me say before, you're going to bring the experience with you. It's what you bring. If you're going into an active area, one or two things are going to happen. You're going to have an experience or you're not. They're going to move away from you and just observe, or they're going to get close and have some sort of an interaction with you. There was a point in time where I wanted everybody to have that interaction, but it's not for everybody. Like, I'm sort of retarded, I guess. I don't know. Something's wrong with me because I'll go out around these creatures. Like, and it, over the course of time, it gave me anxiety, but I'll go again in a heartbeat. If Vault were to call, or if Mid South was in there, or any number of the people, the Brown Dwarf, any number of the people that I trust to go out into the field, they said they were in Southern Oklahoma and they're going to do a camp out. I tell them, hey, I got to go to work at such and such time, but I'm there. So um I don't give people advice on going out. I think everybody should experience it because they're real. I think everybody should have awareness as what to do and what not to do when they're around, especially people that live in rural areas. Again, there's some sort of a crazy uptick in activity, and it's been taking place for the past 4 to 5 years. Um, I think it's kind of unfortunate, but I think it's just the beginning. If you look at the world with this illness that's been taking place, which I think is, we're not getting into that, but any number of things could happen that would force us. America's never been forced, outside of war, has never been forced to adjust to anything that they don't want to adjust to. Um, I don't know, folks. I really do think I don't want. I don't like being a negative Nancy. I'm not a Debbie Downer at all. And if anybody who's seen any of this bullshit that people are saying about me online, see that I haven't responded. I'm not. I don't feed into negativity. I don't. I'm a firm believer that we are a vibrational energy. That's scientific. So what you give your attention to and how you approach it, how you react to it, it all is a part of that vibrational energy. So if you got somebody being mean to you or hateful or callous, you give them that power if you respond or if you feed into it. You give them your energy, and they will drag that energy down to that low vibrating frequency faster than you can blink your eye. And before you know it, you're filled with all these ugly, sad, mad emotions when you don't even live that type of life. I don't want that for any of you guys or anybody else. But we are moving into a time that we're going to have awareness about these creatures. We don't know what's coming tomorrow. And that's unfortunate. But I, do any of you guys trust Uncle Sam to have your best interest at heart? I don't. If something goes down tonight, I'm not going to be running to some FEMA pop-up camp asking them to solve my problem for me. These things occupy rural areas, national parks, nature reserves. They're everywhere. They're everywhere where there's flowing water and cover. What's up, big brother? They're Darkness said it. He understands what I'm saying. They are vampires. They will suck your energy out. But I digress. I don't want to see anybody harmed by one of these creatures. I mean, they're big as elephants. They're upright walking elephants. You've heard reports of these things being 9 to 10 feet tall. They're 9 to 10 feet tall, full of muscle. If the expanse of their shoulders is 5 feet across, and they make these deep imprints in dry ground, clay, we can assume that they're 700-800 pounds. These things are living tractors. They're monsters. They're the beasts of, there you go, right there, Zach. Thank you. That's the word I guess I'm fishing for. They are the beasts of the fields of biblical times. Go back and look at the linemen of David. Look at the bulls of Bashan. Look at Goliath. These things, just because we didn't call him Dogman back then, because Moses didn't write Dogman in Deuteronomy, didn't mean that they didn't exist. The Cynocephali in ancient Greece in the times of Christ. I think we may be looking at the same thing. And I don't want anybody to fall victim to, like Miss Wendy Wilson. My heart goes out to her and her family. She shouldn't have to deal with that. They have beautiful property out there, beautiful home, beautiful family. They shouldn't have to be worried about taking their trash out at night because these things are peering in the windows. I mean, folks, I'll tell you what. I want to get back out there into the field because I do want to see changes. I want to see firsthand what changes have been taking place. We need field investigators out there. And there's a lot of people who've been out in the field who don't have YouTube channels, who don't have Facebook groups, who just for their own personal sanctification, as far as field goes, they want to know what's going on, and they'll go out there and they'll look, they'll investigate, and they'll do it the right way. I think we need more of that. I think Dogmancams is the start of it. Like I said at the beginning of the show, there's so many people who log into that camera who've been sending me phenomenal evidence. I've talked to a couple of y'all are in the chat. I'll ask you straight up, have you ever done any field investigating before? Have you ever been around one of these creatures? No. Like Miss Wendy Wilson. She has one of the best eyes in cryptid field research that I've ever seen. And she's not a cryptid researcher. And I've noticed that there's a thing about ladies. I don't know what it is. I'm not even going to speculate, but they seem to have a better mind for this than we do. So I encourage anybody, not necessarily the field investigation part. If you want to, that's on you, but just know there's things that come along with it. Be prayed up and paid up because you can take things home that you didn't expect. Again, there's the ethereal aspect to it, the spiritual aspect. The Bible talks about how when these demons are cast out, they go to the dry places, the deserts, the deep forests. And I don't know, I'm not knocking anybody's religion. I'm just speaking from my perspective and my religious text, but it's also spoken of in the Quran and other places, the Bhagavad Gita, the Viking Bible that I can never remember, the Divine Edda, I believe it's called. All these biblical or religious texts speak of these monsters and how they're in the deep forests, how they're in the deserts. Everybody's heard of the giants of Kandahar, or whatever it's called. I don't think it's coincidence, folks. I've been doing this too long, better part of 10 years. And when I look around and I see the cult of personalities who aren't focused on what's going on out there in the field, who could care very little about your safety, but they'd rather take pop shots. That just makes me sad because it's real. It's not like we're up here playing patty cake. You know what I mean? Like this stuff is really happening and it's happening to real people. A lot of people don't deserve it. Like I said, the Wilsons, beautiful family. They didn't ask for any of this stuff. Their property just happened to be located in Starbucks parking lots of cryptids. Amy Crew just threw something in there that's really interesting. Esau, brother of Jacob. Miss Crew, do you remember what the Bible said? God told, what was it, Rebecca or Leah? I don't remember, but told Esau's mother that there are two types of men warring in your belly. Find it awful funny that Esau's covered with hair. He's naturally drawn to the forest. He builds his own kingdom in the woods. He's a hunter. Like his father sends him out to get his favorite meal. He goes out in the woods and comes back like what seems like moments later. That was one of the initial theories I've had, or I had when I first started, that Esau may have been the first Bigfoot. But then, if you really look at it chronologically, Bigfoot has been spoken of, or if you want to call it Bigfoot, and I wouldn't call that name now. Don't hit me with that. The large, hair-covered badass was spoken of before that by the Vikings. There's what you call a Heavener Stone in southeast Oklahoma. A lot of you folks know it as Bigfootville. It's over by Eagle, Hanobia. There's a park where there's a Heavener Stone. Now, allegedly, it was left by Norwegian tradesmen, but I think it dates back a whole lot further than that, personally. I think that Leif Erikson came down the old man, Mississippi River, to the Arkansas and made it to southeast Oklahoma. A lot of text from that time that was allegedly written by uh, Vikings who were with Leif Erikson speak of this. Now, what's written on this Heavener Stone, I've spent night and day when I first heard about it trying to figure out. It was Galom. I believe it was Gloam. Galom. And I looked at every translation. I couldn't find anything that meant giant or monster or ogre or anything like that. But then I stopped looking at what seemed to be obvious and started looking at other religious, no, I don't want to say that, other languages that had gloam or golem, golem, Golem. The golem was a man-made construction that was made to protect Jewish people, made out of clay. What do they call the rock giants in southeast Oklahoma? Or I'm sorry, I just told you what they call them. The rock giants, but they're called Janoskwa. Janoskwa means rock giants. The natives would shoot arrows at them and they just bounce off with a ping, ping. You know what I'm saying? Like they were armored up. So you get these stone giants, this golem who's made of stone. It just kind of, I mean, it's too many coincidences to be a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? So I do believe it's all connected. I know you're asking, well, do you think all this stuff's really connected to each other? All these different cultures and their religious texts, just because it's similar? Yeah, absolutely, I do. You bet. There's, it's just too much evidence leading to that fact. And once you see one, you have to take it seriously. That's when you'll start diving into it. That's another cool thing about Dogman cams. People are seeing this stuff. They're seeing it for themselves. Nobody, you don't have Dee Doss telling you about it, or Vault, or Dark. You're seeing it for yourself. And that's when you'll start asking those inner questions like, wait a minute, I was just going to sleep listening to this stuff. This is real? Yeah, you bet. And it's affecting real people. And I've been getting emails. People ask me with the harassment, why are you still doing it? Because there's people who are being harassed in a whole different way, a more horrific way than I am. And if I can give any small, minute piece of information that might help them, it's worth the time and effort. I've said that at the very beginning, and I'll say that at the very end. I could care less if any of these creatures ever breathe another breath, but I care about you folks. So that being said, I've vamped up 49 minutes and 33 seconds. Is there any questions or any comments that anybody has? I hope you like the new format. I'm going to be doing a whole lot more. I say that, but then there's life that takes place. But I'm going to do my best because it's fun. So if anybody has anything, let's see, the war games, threw one in there. Make sure you have a question mark on it because you guys are wide open to chat. I love it. And I'm sorry if I missed any comment. Like I'm trying to keep up as I'm talking to you guys. D, have you ever been to Beggs, Oklahoma? No, I haven't. Where's Beggs at? I don't even know if I've heard of that before, bro. And I'm so Oklahoman. I was born in Oklahoma City. Don't judge me on that. I was just born there. Lived in Southern Oklahoma my whole life. Jonathan Daly, we were talking about that earlier. I don't know if you joined late, but the lion men of Moab. What did they say? One of David's lion men could beat 16 trained, badass veteran soldiers. I mean, that's not a human being. A lot of people would say, oh, well, that's just a tough. No, it's not just some tough guy. Zach says the time is coming where people are going to realize, yes, monsters exist. Can't keep user raps. You're right, Zach. Listen to this. And this is what blows my mind. This is another reason I do it. You can after the show, just check it out. Just put in um person hits vehicle while playing Pokemon Go. I guarantee you get 100 videos. This world is so topsy turvy that people are running into parked cop cars playing some stupid game on their phone. Do you really think these people are going to be observing their surroundings? They don't observe their surroundings in cities, let alone rural areas. It's madness. The world's gone topsy turvy. So, Miratoria, are you going to do investigations with Kumbo? I don't know. I've not spoken to Kumbo yet. We've gone on a few investigations together. He is one of my mentors, and in my opinion, one of the greatest field researchers who's ever taken a breath. He has so much knowledge, it's unreal. And aside from all that, if he never touched foot on green grass in one of these active areas, he's just a great guy. So I don't know. D, did you watch that Dogman pup video I sent you from Vaults? Yes, I did, and I liked it. I don't know if it was a Dogman pup, but the way it was moving behind the pillars and down in that valley, I call it valley, down in the dip where the ground kind of dips down. Let's say valley, for lack of a better word. When it was down in that valley and you could see it come up towards the camera, it did look very, very small. Not too, I mean, like maybe man size compared to the rest of these beasts when I say small. But yeah, it was weird. It didn't move like any kind of predatory animal. Eyes on the side, it hides. Eyes in front, it hunts. It had eyes in front. They looked like they were spaced pretty wide apart, and it didn't move like it was some sort of a four-legged creature. It was weird. How's it go? How's it going? Quick question. What happened to John Bell? I'm going to address this one more time because a couple of people have been on the channel. It's a dead topic, but I'm gonna tell you straight up. John Bell quit because he did not want to share the channel with the co-owner of Dogmancams. He quit because I was going to have an alternate show like this right here that ran alongside with his, and he did not want that. He thought Dogmancams belonged to him solely, which it does not, and he took his ball and he went home. Those are the only answers I have for you. I don't have an email for him, and I'm not going to give his personal number. But if I were you, which I listened to a couple of John Bell shows, he had some interesting things to say. And if anybody remembers, his first time in the public forum was on the BDRP Late Show. We had some phenomenal shows about Gilgamesh, and we linked Gilgamesh to Nimrod. So he's a very astute guy. But that's the reason he did not want to share this platform that did not solely belong to him. So those are that's it, cut plain and dry. And I will never address it again because it's very, very disappointing to me because I like John. I don't know where his mind was, and it's not really my prerogative to inquire where it was. But the family is a team. We are a tight-knit group of people. And if somebody's sitting on an island by themselves of their own accord, then I can't do anything about that. He made his own choice. It's unfortunate, but what can we do? Red Raider, are they evil? Do all Squatch have intent to harm? No, absolutely not. I don't believe that whatsoever. I believe they're just like human beings. You have your good, you have your bad, and you have your in betweens. I believe there's some that have made a mistake. Maybe it's a massive mistake. And the reason I tell you that, Red Raider, is because there was and you hear a lot of stories, but this one was told to me personally by a person that experienced it. Had nothing to do with any YouTube or Facebook groups. This is a person I met right here in my hometown, Ardmore, Oklahoma, at a Love's gas station. I didn't have a lighter. I got home from work, was smoking a cigarette. She was on her smoke break. I asked to borrow her cigarette lighter. I was answering questions on my YouTube Studio app because that's how I try to keep up with the not questions but the comments that folks leave on my channel. And this was the BDRP days. And she asked me about it. She was like, I guess she saw it and she was like, "Are you a YouTuber?" And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "What do you do?" And I told her what I did. And I started explaining kind of the behavior in a real quick way. And she said, "You just made me realize something." I'm from North Dakota. I was a firebug. We had a lot of property when I was a little kid. I went out to the woods with my dad's lighter and I went out there to burn stuff. I guess she had some leaves and some paper she probably took. And she said she went out about 60 yards, made this pile, and burned it. Well, the ashes and the embers from this fire hit her in the eyes and burned her eyes. And to this day, she has a burn mark on her right eyeball. And I was like, man, that's terrible. She's like, well, just listen. She said she heard, and her dad's a big guy. She said she heard big footsteps coming through the woods. And she just started crying, wailing because she knew it was her dad and she was caught. And when the footsteps got to her, they stopped right in front of her and did a like a disappointed sigh and put a big hand on her shoulder, didn't squeeze it, but turned her around towards the house and kind of gave her a gentle push. She said every time she would come up to a limb or a stick, because remember, her eyes are burnt bad. She still has a scar, and I don't know, she was maybe my age, maybe younger, late 20s. She still had the burn mark on her eye, so she was hurt. She was still crying and rubbing her eyes, and she said, and she thought her dad was pissed at her. But every time she'd come up to a limb or something that she would trip over, the hand would kind of lightly grab her on the shoulder, stop her, and then move her over to where she wouldn't step on something or trip over something. Well, this went on until she went that 60 yards. So she got to the gravel road in front of her house because it was like a circle driveway. It circled back in front of their house. And she said as soon as her foot hit that gravel, it sounded like the flash took off. And she opened her eyes quick enough to see a black blur dragging. And I think that's what did it. That's what jogged that memory. Because she asked me, how do Bigfoot cover their tracks? And I said, well, I've heard a lot of reports and I've seen with my own eyes that they'll drag limbs with leaves on it. She said she saw a black blur dragging a big tree limb with leaves on it right behind it. And then, of course, her parents come out. They're wondering what's going on. And she never told that story to anybody. She didn't know what it was, but somehow she pieced that together through our casual conversation. Isn't that awesome? That's why, and that's another reason I love this subject. Like this young lady had no idea what happened to her. She didn't know if that was some sort of a vagrant, a railroad bum out there who did a good deed. Before anybody asked, she didn't say she smelled anything weird or anything like that. She thought it was her dad because her dad's a huge guy, and she felt a huge arm on her. A huge hand on her shoulder. So I'm glad I could share that. Just jogged my memory. I'm glad I could share that with you guys. So you guys are wide open. I scrolled up a little bit to see what else you got for me. James Escobar, my boy. Sightings of strange creatures are accelerating worldwide, such as Sasquatch, Dogman, and flying creatures as well. I believe we are at the dawning of a new age and the beginning of sorrows. Boy, you said a mouthful. I'm not going to disagree with you. I don't know what the hell I did with my lighter, but I'm going to smoke one more cigaroo before I leave you guys, if you don't mind. See another question mark. Red Raider again. Dogmen are just straight up spooky, but Squatch, are they evil? Oh, I already answered that. No. Oh, shit. Burn myself down. Squatch are, I mean, like I said, I think Dogman and Squatch are the same. Like, they're individualistic. I guess that means I'm not smoking a cigarette. Good deal. If I could catch a cryptid with a Pokeball, that would be awesome. I don't know why. I just clicked right under Red Raider, folks. I'm not trying to be funny. Like, yeah. What? John Mad Dot? Are you kidding me? Wow. Well, yeah, rest in peace, John Madden. You can tell I'm not Mr. Current Events. Dee, do you think Brown Springs, Bigfoot remember you? I'm way, way up there. Sorry, folks. Dee, you do this to bring out truth. That's all we want. Yeah, I mean, that's all I want, bro. I don't like people who flim flam folks. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of that going on right now in the cryptid community. There's a lot of that glad handing and cult of personality, more so than when I first started. So I really want to do more than I did back then, especially in the field, because the people who will tell you what you need to think and what things are, and they're just like, oh well, this is it, and you got to listen to us because blah blah blah. Those are the people that have never set foot in a city park before, let alone the deep brush. Thank you, because I have a hard time thinking they're demonic or evil. That's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe they're listen. If they were demonic or evil, you just heard my daughter. She's 15 years old. She was like 10 or 11 when we went out there. She was laughing about it. It was kind of spooky, but like she said, you could see them. Like she's seen them, and I have to point out, I think it's. I don't want to get this wrong, but 24 out of 23 people out of 24 have seen or heard something that they can't attribute to natural wildlife in the areas that I've taken them to. I don't mess around. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna, and I don't charge people money. That you can't charge people for what God's provided for us. So, and I'm not down on anybody. Yeah, I am. I kind of am. Like I don't dig anybody who's going into a nature reserve or a national park just because they know where these things are and charging anybody any kind of money. If anybody's doing that to you, I mean, I can take you to some places. I'm sure Vault. Well, I don't know about Vault. I can't speak for him, but I'll take you to some places where you can see these things for free because you can't charge for what God's provided. Yeah, no problem, Road. I'll address whatever y'all want me to. That's why I'll leave at the very end of the shows open questioning. Like it is what it is. Join Harden and D. The first time I watched the video, I saw a clear face of a Sasquatch looking in on the right side of the window. It then backed away. Then I saw the distortions that were being talked about. That's weird because that's kind of backwards almost. No, it's their home getting burned down. Remember that. And I don't think they are evil, but when the time comes, we will see. You want to know what I think? You want to know what I really think? I've given you this before, but it's in Revelations. I think they're out there for a purpose, and I don't think it's the devil's purpose. I think when that time comes, I, or put it this way: look how close they are to us. When they could have hundreds of thousands of acres to roam around in, and not even drones would see them. You understand what I'm saying? Why do they make the conscious choice to be right on the peripherals, right at the tree line, as close as possible to us? Now, I used to think because that's a good military strategy. They look at us as the enemies because we are the top tier predators. If you don't believe me, go look up the nuclear bomb. Like we're the top tier predators. We're the big dogs. But I don't think it's that. I think if you think about it, there's my lighter. Outstanding. If you think about it, it seems like they're watching and waiting. What are they waiting for? Zippo or a Bic never fails. I'm gonna put that comment up there just because it's true. Listen, how do you know I wouldn't use? That's crazy, Bass. Yeah, I'm using these cheap gas stores see-through lighters, but yeah, Zippo I can never keep a hold of. I had one for like 4 years, and of course, even though people bring a Bic, somehow that'll end up in their pocket. What else we got? Boy, I'm way up there. All right, now I'm down at the bottom. I guess that's it. Seemed like y'all ran out of questions. A bunch of comments. I tell you what, though, if you want, because it's going to be a busy weekend. The Lord's been blessing me, blessing on top of blessing here lately. If I complained, then I'd probably be punished. But we're moving into a new house this weekend, which is a beautiful new home, which is going to have an office. It's got a back office that's concreted and soundproof. You know what I'm saying? So like when I say blessing, it was a blessing. I'll be able to do more shows, be out of the old lady and the daughter's hair. You know what I mean? We got grandkids that come over and yeah, nieces and nephews and all that kind of stuff. I need that space. But thinking about, since it's kind of early, doing a late show over on my personal channel, Dee Doss Presents. So hopefully I'll see you guys over there. If not, I love each and every last one of you. Thank you for joining me on Dogmancams, the return of the late show, which it will be called and cataloged as the original Cryptid Late Show. And yeah, big shout out to each and every last person who decided to join me live. 126 folks showed up. I think it was 133 at the most, which is very, very phenomenal. I love it. You guys have a great weekend. What am I talking about? Weekend? I'm out of my mind. It's my weekend because I'm off because I got to move. But yeah, you guys have a great night, and I'll see you over on my personal channel. Dee Doss Presents. Bye bye.